Good morning. This is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. It is Wednesday, May 17th, and this is our weekly business agenda. We will start by undertaking a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Ackerman.
Here.
Commissioner Cross.
Present.
Commissioner McGowan.
Here.
Commissioner Mesner.
Here.
Commissioner Oath. Commissioner Ray.
Here.
Commissioner Robbins.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 out of 7 commissioners present.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Good to see everyone. At this point, we will look at our agenda and note that the next matter up is commissioner comments. Does any commissioner have comments for folks? Commissioner McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let folks know that I was gone last week because Director Murphy and I were in Canada sharing best practices around reducing greenhouse gas emissions from oil and gas operations. And we had a nice exchange of information on who's doing what and in what order. And in some ways they're ahead of us, and in some ways we're ahead of them. So it was a good trip, and it was nice to share and exchange information with each other.
Yeah, really proud that you were able to do that, Commissioner McGowan. Really good to share ideas and gain information from another country. Other comments from commissioners? Take the prerogative of recognizing AAG Davenport at this point. We did have a hearing on the KPK matter. I note that made its way into some press. So AAG Davenport, do you want to give us a quick update on the KPK matter?
Happy to, Chair. Thanks for the opportunity. As all of the commissioners know, following the commission's issuance of the order in February, KPK filed a judicial review action in March, and in addition to the complaint in the judicial review action, filed a motion to stay the effect of the commission's February order during the litigation. We did have a hearing yesterday on that motion to stay, not on the merits of the case itself. That hearing lasted most of the day on Monday, where the court took evidence and heard from witnesses from KPK and the commission. The court did not issue a ruling on Monday. The judge requested that the parties submit proposed findings by 14 days from Monday. So I think that's actually Memorial Day is our deadline to submit those proposed findings. And then after that, the court will issue a decision. The court does not have a deadline to issue a decision, so I can't provide a prediction for when the court might actually make its decision.
Okay, great. Thank you for that update, AAG Davenport. Appreciate that. At this time, we will move to public comment. And I believe that we had one person sign up for public comment, Barbara Mills-Bria. If we could elevate her to the panel.
Yeah, hello, hold on one second. Okay, I'm ready.
We can hear you and we can see you. You are recognized.
Okay, so thanks for letting me speak. As the COGCC moves ahead with a very complicated final solution for 6 options for financial assurance, what was predicted to happen has now started happening. And as a result, less money per well is now being proposed, of course, by the operators and accepted by the commission. This will leave the taxpayers of Colorado holding them back, since many of these companies have made the money or are making money on their wells and are trying desperately to not set aside money to plug their wells. Last week, you heard from Vision Energy LLC, and they were apparently flummoxed by the extremely complicated rules the commissioners established. But one must recall that this system of options was put forward by the industry representatives. Also, none of the conversation that you guys had about Vision in the commission hearing addressed the very basis of the need for financial assurance rules. While the operators are making money, they should be putting aside enough money to pay to plug and possibly have to replug wells and restore the damage done by the very presence of the wells. Instead, the operators play the shifting game of the amount of financial assurance while everyone waits for the taxpayers of Colorado to finally pick up the bill. Ms. Larson also confused Marilex with Vision when she spoke, which seems very reasonable since Marilex Resources, based in Ignacio, Colorado, appears to be a financially healthy company based on production. Marilex's picture of health is possible because they carved off 131 unplugged wells and transferred them to a company called Vision Energy, LLC, also based in Ignacio. Many of the transfer wells were old and low producing. But who is Vision LLC? Marilex is the parent company. The O'Hares, as they testified last week, owners of Marilex, are also the majority owners of Vision LLC. The same attorneys signed their financial assurance proposals. They have the same mailing address, the same CEO, and many of the same members of their management teams. Yet it seems that the commission is treating Marilex and Vision as independent entities in the ongoing financial assurance process. Financial assurance for the wells is going down, and to date in 2023, fewer than 100 wells have been plugged, while somewhere around 1,500 new wells have been approved. So I have 5 additional questions. Has the commission now verified that Vision Energy is an option 3 operator? 2, Scouts Energy Form 3 is 3 weeks late. Chevron amended Form 3 is invalid without Scouts Form 3. So what's going on with that? When is the Own Resources hearing scheduled? How many operators have yet to file a Form 3? It appears that about a third have yet to file. And finally, what percentage of Rule 702 wells have no associated Form 3? Thank you for your time.
Thank you for taking time to be with us. I will forward your questions over to Deputy Director Scott Cuthbertson, and we will get back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We now will move to consent agenda, and that has 4 hearing officer recommendations. I did have one question, Ms. Larson, if you could visualize yourself.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
There were 3 enforcement matters that all kind of had a similar theme. They were NOAV'd in June of 2020. They were set for hearing in January of 2022. And then the notice of hearing was January of 2023. And my question is, what's up with the timeframes in terms of this NOAV 3 years ago, initially, recognized for hearing in 22, and then there's another whole year before we get to actual notice of hearing, and now we're 6 months after that. And I don't need to have it answered. That seemed quizzical to me for these 3 matters.
Certainly, and we can also ask the hearing officers themselves if they have additional color, but generally it does depend upon how quickly the parties are able to move through the enforcement process. So the hearings group will notice the matters once we have been alerted by the parties to that enforcement process that it is ready to be moved to that next stage. So there may be additional unique circumstances for these NOAVs, but I'm not aware of them. And I'll rely upon Mr. Thomas or Mr. Berman if they have any additional color to that, but I believe that's where we're at with these.
Okay. I didn't really have any concern about the outcome or the AOC. I just, maybe that's something that we can have a discussion about offline in terms of timing. It seems like that's a fairly long period of time, and if there are things that we can do to help, move that up, I think that would be helpful.
Certainly.
Okay. Any other questions about consent from commissioners? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve? So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent carries. Okay, moving down on our docket, we now have docket 2207-00197, an oil and gas development plan for Nuvita Resources. I believe we need to elevate attorneys William Zimsky and perhaps Andrew Scheel, as well as I see David Neslin is also on the docket.
Good morning, Chairman Robbins. William Zimsky on behalf of New Vida Resources.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Zimsky. Good to hear you. For the good of the calls, Mr. Zimsky and I have practiced together for a long period of time, and it's now good to see you. We can see you as well. Good to see you. I see that we're elevating some witnesses. I see Ms. Riley, Mr. Pate, and Mr. Lupking.
Yes, Dick Pate is the Vice President of Operations for New Vida. He'll be making the presentation along with Heather Riley, who's the Senior Project Manager at EIS, Environmental and Permitting Services. Mr. Lupking is the Chief Geologist. He'll be able to answer any questions regarding the geology questions. Jim Bob Bird is the Vice President of Asset Development for New Vida. He submitted the 505 land testimony, is available for responding to any questions the commissioners may have. Mindy Pollack, who is the biologist and the president of EIS, worked on the wildlife mitigation plan for the OGDP, and she is available to give testimony. I believe Bruce Hightower, the president of New Vida, is here as observing the hearing. And as we get into the presentation, first I'd like to thank the CPW and the commission staff for their help in getting this application to the stage that it is at now. And we appreciate that help from the staff. And with that, I guess we'll begin the presentation. I'm going to just start off with the introductory part of it.
Before you get going, Mr. Zimsky,
Yes.
Normally what we would do is anybody that's going to testify that's a witness would be sworn in by our AAG, Assistant Attorney General Davenport. So if we could have the folks that are going to be witnesses visualize themselves, and then we'll have Mr. Davenport swear them in, and then we can take care of those procedural matters and then get into the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, I see Mr. Hightower, Mr. Lupking, and Mrs. Pollock. Apologies for mispronunciations if I did that. Is that everyone, Mr. Zimsky?
Heather Riley should be visualizing herself, and Jim Bob Bird and Dick Pate. And there's Jim Bob, I see him.
Yes, I see Mr. Pate, though not visualizing himself. That would be preferable if we could do that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I see Ms. Riley as well. Okay, I'll get started, and then hopefully Ms. Riley and Mr. Pate can visualize themselves while I'm going through everyone else. Folks, if all I'm going to ask you to do is raise your right hand, state your name, and say that you swear to tell the truth. I'll identify you before, so we don't all do it at once. I'll start with Mr. Hightower. Mr. Hightower, please raise your right hand, state your name, and say that you swear to tell the truth.
My name is Bruce Hightower, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Lupking?
You'll need to unmute yourself,
You're
Mr.
muted,
Lupking.
sir. Thank you.
Glenn Lupking, I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Ms. Pollock?
My name is Mindy Pollock, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Bird?
My name is Jim Bob Bird, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Ms. Riley?
My name is Heather Riley, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Pate.
My name is H. Richard Pate, and I swear to tell the truth.
All right. Thank you all.
All right, with those procedural matters taken care of, Mr. Zimsky, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Chair. I just want one housekeeping matter. Ms. Lawson had sent us a list of questions by the commissioners, and we responded with written responses, and I think that should be in your packet. But and any follow-up we can the pertinent people can answer any of those questions. So the RDRL Oil and Gas Development Plan is the overview is we're proposing, if you can go to the next slide, the 1,279.52 acre OGDP and a drilling and spacing unit, 8 horizontal wells in the Mancus Formation from a single 6.5 acre working pad. Nuvida owns about 87.5% of the working interest in the Mancus within the proposed DSU. La Plata County is a local government siting authority. They've issued the necessary land use permit, and we've entered a memorandum of understanding with the county for this development and future developments. And if you can go to the next slide, and all of this is within the exterior boundaries of the Southern Ute Indian Tribe Reservation and includes 39.49 acres of Southern Ute tribal minerals. We've entered a comprehensive surface use and damage release agreement with the surface owner. There's no proximate local governments within 2,000 feet of the proposed location, and Nuvida has complied with all those requirements respect to filing the application and respect to this hearing, including notice to the Southern Ute Indian Tribe, its Department of Energy, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the Bureau of Land Management. And if we can go to the next slide. There was a specific question about outreach to the Southern Ute Indian Tribe. We've had meetings with the Bureau of Land Management and for the BIA, Southern Ute Department of Energy, the Southern Ute Growth Fund, Red Willow Production Company, Red Cedar Gathering Company, all beginning January 2021. None of those entities have, all of them have declined to intervene in this process. There's no tribal surface with respect to the well pad or the tank battery. The well bores, the first 2 well bores will not intersect tribal minerals. The commission and the county have asserted jurisdiction because of the, despite the fact that it's within the Southern Ute exterior boundaries, the surface is owned by fee. And this is an important point that with respect to our discussions with the Southern Ute Indian Tribe is following approval of the OGDP and the spacing unit and approval of the assignment of operating rights for the 40 acres of tribal minerals. Nuvida will need to complete a communization agreement, including the 40 acres of tribal minerals that will be included after an approved spacing order is received by the BIA and the tribe. Title confirmation and transfer is being coordinated through the Southern Ute Department of Energy, and we've been in. Mr. Bird has been in contact with them regarding all of these issues, and the Red Cedar Gathering Company will be gathering the gas, and as part of the Southern Ute Growth Fund. And that is basically the overview. And I'm going to give you the topics so we can go to the next slide. The first 2 topics, company introduction and Mancus formation overview, will be covered by Mr. Pate. Ms. Riley is going to talk about surface locations, siting considerations, and wildlife mitigation plan. And then Mr. Pate will come back on and he'll speak about phases of operation, best management practices, air emissions mitigation, community outreach, and give a summary of the OGDP application. And so with that, I'll hand the presentation over to Mr. Pate.
Dick, you're muted.
I apologize. I was lucky to get myself on the camera, then I mute myself. I apologize. Hold on just a second here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
My name is Dick Pate. I'm responsible for engineering and operations and safety for Nuvita Resources. I'm a resident of Durango, Colorado and La Plata County. I'd first like to direct us to the picture on this slide. And what this is a picture of Nuvita's proposed Arterwell well site. It's looking from the south boundary of the working pad surface looking north to the La Plata Mountains way out in the horizon. So what is Nuvita? Who is Nuvita? The name Nuvita is it's a shortened version of Nuevo Vida, which means new life. We feel that the Mancos Shale brings new opportunity or new life of future development for the San Juan Basin, both in Colorado and New Mexico. Nuvita was formed in 2016 to exclusively develop natural gas sets in the San Juan Basin, with the main emphasis on development of the Mancos Shale. The 6 core members of Nuvita have over 230 years, we're a bunch of old guys, of oil and gas industry experience and over 75 years of oil and gas operations experience in Colorado and the San Juan Basin. One of the key core principles for Nuvita is the development of responsibly sourced gas. And what that means to Nuvita is using the state-of-art technology in its operation to proactively address any emissions, environmental, public health, wildlife, and safety issues, and then develop and implement necessary mitigation measures. And we have an example of that in the presentation of one of these technical advances we are going to employ on our drilling. So let's go to the next slide. What is the Mancos? Let's first refer to the map here. The bold outline is the San Juan Basin productive area, the greater San Juan Basin. In the upper right-hand corner there where you see the shaded yellow area and dashed line is the Mancos dry gas overpressure cell. This is where most of the activity has occurred on the New Mexico side in the Mancos horizontal drilling. 3 other highlighted areas, Nebu and Rosa unit are the 2 federal units where that activity has occurred. And the NBR project shows where the Nuvita project is. It's approximately 15 miles north of the existing production in the Mancos of the Nebu unit. So what I like to do is kind of digress just a second and discuss with you, it's not on the slides, the San Juan Basin historical perspective of production. In 1921, the first gas well was drilled in discovery was made in Aztec, New Mexico, about 40 miles south of Durango. In the 50s and 60s, a considerable amount of development in various formations in the basin occurred. And at that time, and somewhere in the mid 60s, this San Juan Basin area is considered the largest natural gas field in the world. That development continued through the 70s and early 90s. Then in the early 1990s into the 2000s, a large program in the coal bed development occurred in the Fruitland coal, which some of you are probably familiar with. And to date, there's still some activity in the Fruitland coal, and it's one of the largest CBM producing areas in the world. The next is that we're going to discuss is what does that mean about the Mancos? Well, just to give you a perspective, the total reserves produced to date in the greater San Juan Basin area has been 47 TCF of gas. It's projected to be close to about 60 TCF at end of life. To give you the perspective of that 25-mile area, 25-mile wide and 60-mile long area, the Mancos dry overpressured cell system, the industry estimates there could be recoverable reserves of 50 to 100 TCF. So it's considerable. It's a huge, massive potential resource, natural gas resource. So what is the Mancos? The Mancos Seaway is of Cretaceous age. It occurred about 80 to 95 million years ago. It was a seaway that split the continent in half and transversed from all the way from the Gulf of Mexico, clear up through Canada and into the Beaufort Sea. Now, coming back and focusing on where we're at on the Mancos overpressure area in the San Juan Basin averages about 1,500 foot thick. It is and the productive interval is in the lower third of the formation. It is called the Niobrara, and it ranges in depth from about 7,000 to 7,500 feet. And the Niobrara in the DJ Basin is contemporaneous to the San Juan Basin Niobrara, meaning that it was laid out during the same era. There's big differences in the rock type and organics, but it was laid out in the Mancos time frame in the same time. One of the key elements I like to address, which is a theme we'll see throughout the presentation, is that this has a very unique gas stream. The Mancos gas is considered a dry gas. It's 980 BTU heating value. It's composed of 97% methane and 3% CO2. There are no liquid hydrocarbons in this, which means there are no BTEXs, butanes, toluenes, ethanes, or xylenes. And is therefore there are no HAPs, no hazardous air pollutants that occur through our system. The history of the Mancos Shale started about in the early 2000s. 2006 and 2010, a company called WPX recognized that this could be a major resource. They gathered a significant amount of data during that period, and from that data, they decided to drill the first 2 horizontal Mancos wells in the Rosa unit. They drilled 2 1-mile lateral wells. And in 2011, a company by the name of Black Hills drilled on the Jicarilla just south and east of the Rosa unit, a 1-mile lateral. All 3 wells are still currently producing and have been considered successful wells. Then in 2015 and 16, WPX came back into the Rosa unit. They drilled 4 additional wells, 3 1-mile lateral wells, and the first 2-mile lateral well. What they did differently in here, they improved the completion technology by increasing sand concentration in the well, and that significantly improved production. In 2017, BP decided they were going to drill some wells based on all the data, and in the Nibu unit, they drilled 6 wells, of which 5 were 2-mile lateral wells, and 1 was 1-mile lateral well. Then in 2018, what occurred is Lagos, a private company, purchased all of WPX's assets in New Mexico as well as in the Rosa unit. Then in 2020, the world lost a year. I mean, nothing happened. Then 2021 and 22, Logos has drilled 11 2-mile lateral wells. So there's been a total of 24 wells drilled to date. The Nuvita area sits approximately 15 miles northeast of Nibu unit to the closest production, and will be the first company to drill Mancos horizontal wells in the Colorado section of the San Juan Basin. With that, I turn that over to Heather for her part of the presentation.
Good morning, Chair Robbins and Commissioners. My name is Heather Riley. I work for EIS Permitting and Environmental Solutions. EIS has been assisting Nuvita in the COGCC permitting process. I wanted to go over what we've done for our permitting timeline. We had the first of 3 on-sites with the agencies on February 17th of 21, so about 2 years ago. Subsequent on-sites were conducted to accommodate changes in agency personnel. The La Plata County minor oil and gas permit was submitted on January 3rd of 22 and later approved on July 20th. On August 2nd, the OGDP and Forms 2A, B, and C were submitted. On November 11th, COGCC returned the forms and requested additional information. They were resubmitted on November 17th, and completeness was determined on November 29th, with notice letters being sent on December 5th. December 29th ended the public comment period with no comments being received. However, on March 31st of this year, a letter in support of the project was submitted. On March 6th was the OGDP petition deadline with no petitions being filed. A director's recommendation was submitted on May 5th. So in total, we had 4 locations that were considered for potential development. The proposed location met 2 of the 10 criteria for an alternative location analysis pursuant to 304B2B, in that the working pad surface, which includes the TUA, is less than 2,000 feet from a residential building unit and is within high priority habitat. All other siting criteria for an ALA are not present for the proposed location. Those are listed in the gray text at the bottom. This slide shows all 4 locations that were considered and what are existing criteria for alternative locations numbers 1, 2, and 3. This is a busy slide, and we left off the boundary of the DSU just to try to make it less busy. But if you take a look at sections 18 and 17 and just visually draw a boundary around those 2 sections, that's where the DSU lies. All 3 alternate locations would be within 2,000 feet of an RBU and would be within an HPH. Alternate number 2 is within 150 feet of a property line, and alternate number 3 is within 2,000 feet of the buffer of a DIC. This slide shows you the DIC detail. The hatch mark on the right or the east is the DIC, and that alternate location is right here, which is within that buffer. So this slide depicts advantages of the location that was selected and is our proposed pad. Just one RBU is within the 2,000 feet, and it's important to note, if you look at the well pad itself, this will be the permanent feature or the permanent disturbance. The tank pad that's below is temporary, but because it's all part of the facility, it had to be considered as working pad surface, and we had to measure from the corner of the TUA tank pad. So the RBU, again, there's just one RBU that's within that 2,000 feet, but it's important to note that once we reclaim the tank pad, the total distance is 2,447 feet, which takes it outside of that 2,000 foot setback. So other important things is that the RBU, that one RBU owner has signed a informed consent, and this location is not within a DIC. We'll be utilizing existing access road off of County Road 318, as well as a pipeline corridor that exists and pipeline infrastructure. It's grouped with other existing disturbance. This area right here is a compression site. So that was something CPW appreciated, is that it's all clustered with that existing disturbance. And just to note, this right here shows you that alternate number, I believe it's number 1. It's an existing location, but for safety considerations, it was ruled out. If you have questions about that, Dick can answer that more, but yeah, this just to move it off the pad, it would still have had the same amount of disturbance. The SUA that the surface owner sign covers all of the activities that are contained within this OGDP, and the local governmental designee, as well as CPW, approved of this proposed location. This slide shows you the wildlife features. It is within a severe winter range and winter concentration area. The blue hash is the severe winter range, and then when you look at where the pipeline extends up to the north, that brings in the mule deer winter concentration. But essentially, it's about the mule deer in this area. So to note, CPW was there was an extensive consultation that took place with them throughout this time frame, and they helped to develop a wildlife mitigation plan that was agreed to, and it includes a mitigation fee of $34,000. And just to note, that is for a 5-year period. If it goes past that 5-year period, that amount increases, and everyone is aware of that, including Navita. Part of the things that have been agreed to is the winter wildlife closure timeframes, and that plays a lot into how the timing of this project is going forward, because they do have to be shut down during December 4th through April 30th. And then there were a number of other considerations that really that they didn't have to do, Navita doesn't have to do, but they've agreed to, and that's one of the main ones is controlling weeds across the entire parcel and not just their proposed location. At this point, I'm going to hand this back over to Dick to go through some of the operational details with you.
Yeah, what this slide depicts, we broke our operations into 6 phases. First, the well pad construction, and then on top we have the drilling and completion operations, the estimated days. Parallel to that on the bottom, we'll be constructing the facilities and lease electrification with the idea that what will happen is right during completion, the facilities construction will be completed and we'll start flowback operations and then into the production phase. So the main emphasis of this slide is really to depict how the completion operations and production facilities installation dovetail such that the gas sales commence during flowback, which eliminates any routine flaring. So next slide, Heather. What I'm going to talk about on these next two slides are the BMPs. The BMPs are included in the Form 2A as well as in our OJD plans. My intent is not to go over every one of these items, but to cite specific ones that I think are very important, both maybe to the commission, but as well as to us. The first one I'd like to talk about is under the odor and air quality, and that's the electrification of the lease and the production equipment. I believe this is very important because this allows air actuated pneumatic controllers versus using hydrocarbons for them. This is very important because it eliminates hydrocarbon emissions over the length of the period of time of about 30 years these wells will be producing. So it's a long-term positive effect eliminating emissions. The other one I wanted to talk about, which we're really proud of, is we're going to be implementing in our drilling what is called an HPWMB. What that is a high performance water-based mud system versus an oil-based mud system that is being used in the lateral sections of the well. This is important to us because one is we'll be the first operator to utilize this new technology in the San Juan Basin. It eliminates odor, the handling of the oil-based mud systems and the safety of that, and is much more eco-friendly for disposal. I'm not going to go over all the other ones in detail, but under our light and noise and dust, those are all in our OJD plans, and they're all bulleted for your review. So let's go to the next slide. This one here is under waste and capture. I'd like to talk a little bit about SCADA. And what that is, it's a security, supervisor control, and data acquisition. Because we're electrifying the lease, this allows us to automate all our equipment out there and monitor it on a 24-hour basis. The automation is set up to be able to observe for leak detection and any production anomalies. This allows us to shut the wells in immediately, automatically. And it's a huge safety issue particularly because we're the location of the facilities. So again, the electrification allows us for this automation. The next one I'm going to talk about is under the water resources. Nuvita, what's occurring out here, there's a lack or a minimal amount of water that we're able to get for our completion operations. Water resources are any freshwater, particularly freshwater resources, they're available, but it would take a huge amount of trucking to bring these in. So what we decided to do in looking at this a few years ago was to do what we call a reuse and recycle of produced water. What has happened is we're able to put together a water source use agreements with an operator in the area, which allows us to bring the water in from the north via pipeline. We have finalized the first water source agreement, and the commission has that. We're in the final hours of developing a water source use agreement with another operator. What this allows us to do is bring in from about a mile away between 8,000 to 10,000 barrels of water a day of coal bed methane water. And because our operations require during completion about 30,000 to 40,000 barrels of water a day, this will require us to store this water for up to 3 months in MLVTs, multi-large volume tanks. So we've set up the TUA pad that Heather had pointed out earlier, and we have to put in these MLVTs in order to store the water for about 3 months prior to completion operations. What we do then is take that water, pump it into the pad during the completion operations. That water is then produced up from the wellbore into our tank battery, into tanks, and our production tanks. That water then is transferred via that pipeline back to a commercial facility of one of the operators we have an agreement with. So we have what I call not only a closed loop system for our drilling operations, we have a closed loop system for our water operations. What this allows us to do is minimize the amount of water hauling that comes into here. It saves about 10,000 truckloads, or basically 20 round trip truckloads out here, which would be enormous for the transportation routes. So the other items we have are stormwater and traffic, and those are all in the BMPs for your review. I'd like to move on to the next slide. So this slide emphasizes again the production stream and the dry gas, that there's no liquid hydrocarbon production, therefore no BTEXs or VOCs or HAPS emissions will occur. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what has occurred. We had our commission, our CDPHE consultation meeting on February 14th. And prior to that, what we had done is submitted to the CDPHE. I used a company by the name of Mesa Applied Sciences and CDH Consulting to do our mission analysis using what is called the GlyCalc model. We put in Form 14 for the CDPH review for our permitting for air emissions. And what they came back with and noted at the time was that there would be no additional mitigation required and no additional permitting because of the low emissions. So this was discussed in our meeting with the CDPHE on February 14th. And during that meeting, what we realized and was somebody within the commission that they felt that the Southern Utes had jurisdiction over the air. And the reason is because Navita's operations is within the Southern Ute boundary. And the Southern Utes do have jurisdiction of the air permitting, which is managed by Region 8 EPA. So I contacted Claudia Smith of Region 8 and Danny Powers of the Southern Ute air permitting. They did confirm that they have jurisdiction over the air permitting. And so what I did is sent them all the information we had sent to the CDPHE on the air emissions and our GlyCalc calculations. And I had a consultation with them on April 6th, in which they reviewed all the information. And during that consultation, they came to the same conclusion that they needed no additional information. They approved our operations and said no additional permitting requirements were needed. Then to further talk about key elements on February 14th with CDPHE, again, what came up, I think the key elements are the electrification of equipments and the use of air-actuated pneumatic devices, which eliminates the emissions. We are implementing a hybrid flowback method. The pipeline-ready gas, we will have immediate gas sales at the time of flowback. We have contracted with Red Cedar Gas System, the division of the Southern Youth Growth Fund. They will be gathering the gas at the well site, transporting it to their pipeline, which is a half-mile away, and to their facilities up on the hill behind us, about 4 miles away. This is important because the well site will not require any compression. Red Cedar has all the compression necessary on their system, and this will totally eliminate any additional noise and emission mitigation due to potential for additional compression, which will not occur during the life of the well. The other key element, which the EPA liked and Southern Utes, was the fluid leak detection program that is in our OGDP. Two of the key elements was the AVO, the audio visual olfactory inspections that will occur at the site. And then the other is the FLIR surveys that will be taken. We will initiate inspection, use of the FLIR system during the first 30 days to get baseline information, and then we'll have quarterly and bi-yearly reviews after that. So next slide. Navita has spent a lot of time in outreach, both at what I call macro level as well as the local level. We've done several presentations on public forums about the Mancos development with the Plata Board of County Commissioners, Durango Chamber of Commerce, and the Economic Development Alliance. We're also a member of the La Plata Energy Council and members and sponsors of very numerous locations. I'd like to digress a little bit on not just the community outreach when I said on a broad level, on a local level, which means around the area that we are going to do operations. We've contacted not just only the RBU, but a number of the other owners offset in there that have acreage. And so on one instance, there was an owner that was concerned about his cattle and the county road that we will be using, one of the county roads. So we approached the county with the owner, and we found out that the county determined that on one part of the road, they had a dangerous area with an old cattle guard. In combination and consulting with the landowner and the county, it was determined that we would take that. Nuvita will be taking out that old cattle guard and filling that in, putting the new cattle guard up in a more conspicuous place for safety in a larger cattle guard. And that opened up the area that the gentleman could have further grazing on his property, but it also saved, it helped the county with a major problem, a safety issue with the old cattle guard. So that will be in place. Actually, that will be in place by the end of the month. So next slide. So in summary, I won't go over all these in detail, but we feel that the RDRL OGDP protects and minimizes impacts of the development on the public health, safety, welfare, and environment and wildlife resources. And I'd like to stop and go over a couple of key items that I feel that we've done a really good job in. And that's utilizing current resources and infrastructure. We took a lot of time in developing this plan with the county and the surface use owner in the ability to use current infrastructure. I think is very, very important. One is the current use of lease roads, the pipelines and the corridors and the right-of-ways that exist. We've expanded or going to expand with the LPEA 3-phase line into the area for electrification. We're using the systems of, as we talked about with COGCC, eliminating any additional compression. We've worked with the CPW to improve the habitat. We're installing new wildlife fencing in the area, picking up all the trash and cleaning the area up. We've improved or will be improving the safety on the county road here shortly with the new cattle guard. And then the other important item is the produced water sources that we'll be using in our completion operations. So that summarizes, and then of course now the director's recommendation, which we have asked the commission to weigh in on and approve for Nuvita. So with that, I'll put that back to Mimi and the commission for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. If we could stop the screen share, it'll give everybody a chance to see each other a little bit better. Great, okay. At this time, we are at that point of the consideration with commissioner questions for the panel. Does any commissioner have questions? Commissioner McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for answering my questions in your presentation. That was helpful. This is one of those situations where there's a lot to appreciate in this application. So electrification, the first time that I've seen an application, no HAPs or BTECs during production for the life of the wells. I think for me, and it's not right or wrong, there's a trade-off in using the recycled water, which is appreciated, which is a large number of MVLTs. And it's hard for me to tell. I'm assuming that those are not going to stay there permanently while you figure out whether the first 2 wells are viable and you're going to drill more, that those are temporary and will come and go. Is that correct? And could you explain then, will that pad stay there? You're not going to have to come back and forth and redo the pad, right? I'm trying to figure out how we minimize coming in multiple times, realizing that the trade-off here for using the recycled water is having to come back maybe multiple times because it's going to take so long to fill those tanks up to do the drilling of the wells, if I'm understanding correctly.
No, this stick pay, was a good question. I should have addressed that in my comments, but the answer to that is the county, in our permit with the county, we will be taking down those MLVTs each year. So so we're required to do that. So we will put those MLVTs up each year during the cycle. Those will come in around May 1, and we'll probably take them down in the October, November timeframe each year until all the operations or that DSU is completed. There's no additional work to be done on the pad that will have to be done. That pad has been engineered and then compacted, and we have engineering drawings into the commission and showing how the site will be completed. It's a lot of the compaction that we have in there is under CDOT recommendations for compaction to make sure that stays stable. The entire TUA pad will be lined, and we'll put ground cover on top of that, or cover on top of that, in order to minimize anything going on that pad. So that pad will stay for approximately 2 to 3 years until we get operations done, depending on our cycle and the amount of water we can get. And then that pad will be reclaimed immediately after the DSU all the wells on the DSU have been completed. So it is there for Commissioner Gowan, approximately, I'm going to guesstimate about 3 years before full reclamation and everything will be moved out. So hopefully that answered your questions.
Yeah, thank you. And is the RBU owner aware that this isn't a one and done kind of thing, that there will be multiple occupations of the site?
Jim Bob, do you want to take that question? I can answer
Sure.
that, but Jim Bob has direct relationship with the surface owners.
Yeah, and Commissioner McGowan, thank you for the questions. Yes, the RBU owner is aware, and we have made arrangements with them. A couple of requests that they made with regard to augmenting their property. And so part of this is that we anticipate having an ongoing relationship with them. And so our agreement covers multiple years for the life of the proposed activity. Going back to your other question, one of the things that we contemplate going forward, assuming some economic success with this particular project, is that we would be developing a comprehensive area plan. And as part of that comprehensive area plan, we are looking at alternative storage sites away from this temporary use area, which would minimize the period of time that we would use the TUA, but that would be subject to county and COGCC approval and discussion and approval. And so there is some forward thinking that's gone into how we minimize the effect of that TUA and how that affects the view shed for owners in that particular area.
Thank you.
Other questions from commissioners for the panel? Commissioner Cross?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. And admittedly, a couple of the questions I had were asked by Commissioner McGowan there, particularly with respect to kind of the multiple occupations. One thing that I wanted to confirm as well is that the site that you are proposing to use ultimately was one that was selected by CPW. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Because if I understand correctly, La Plata County actually wanted it further away from the road, but this was going to be more beneficial to impacts to wildlife in this manner.
That is correct.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, I know that La Plata County has been redoing their oil and gas rules and regulations, and I'm wondering if kind of moving forward, if you know what kind of impact that would have on the operations the way you currently have it planned, or if that's already taken into account of kind of your future development plans.
I'm going to defer this to Jim Bob. He's been very active with that on the Energy Council, as well as with the with the commissioners, so I'm going to let him answer that question.
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner Cross, we have certainly tried in the course of our planning and our design to take into account the revisions to the new Chapter 90 regs, which have just recently been implemented and which are designed to go into effect August 1st. And the plan as submitted complies in every form, fashion, and manner with the new revised Chapter 90. So we will have no issues related to new Chapter 90 regulations.
Thank you. And also thank you. I know one of the questions I had initially with my OGLA meeting was about the conversations with the tribe as well. So I appreciate you touching on that today. So that's the only questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Ackerman?
Thank you, Chair Robbins. Just one point of clarification. I think that I've gathered the subsequent occupations. So the first occupation is because they're exploratory wells necessitating coming back. But, you know, lots of times we'll have people be able to drill this number of wells in a period of time that would be outside the wintertime enclosure, all in one occupation. Is the issue then the limited availability of water combined with the winter timing closures? Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah, yes, that's exactly. It's the primary is the limitation of the water, but then you compound that with because I can't bring water, you're in and we're closed down during the winter. I can't bring water in during that time frame. So it's a combination of both, but it's primarily driven by the water resource, and then combined and accentuated by the winter closing. That's correct.
Thanks for that clarification. And the other point of clarification that I had was in testimony today, we heard about communications with the Southern Ute tribe, and I heard that they declined to intervene, but wanted to have you expound on that just a little bit. And is the tribe supportive of this development? Are they indifferent to the development? Are they? I couldn't quite gather where they were at.
Jim Bob?
We have had, Commissioner Ackerman, thank you for the question. We have had literally hundreds of communications with various entities, tribal affiliation. And in fact, we have a contract with Red Cedar Gathering, which is a Southern Ute entity, to gather gas from our project area. So Red Cedar Gathering is certainly very supportive of this concept. Whenever we first started communications with the tribe back in January of 2021, the question came up about what position the tribe held with regard to our proposed operations. And as soon as they found out that there was only 40 acres in the spacing unit and that we were not touching their lateral, it was decided at that point by the tribe that they had no jurisdiction over the regulatory process, and they elected to defer to the county and the COGCC. So their decision not to intervene is one based upon the legal position, and that's been explained to us by both Tom Dugan, who has represented the tribe, and also Tom Ships, another attorney who represents the tribe that Chairman Robbins is certainly familiar with. So we've consulted with all of those parties to ensure that we are complying in every way possible with the wishes and desires of the Southern Ute Indian tribe. And we're having ongoing dialogue with and partnership with the tribe on multiple projects outside of the scope of this OGDP, because there are other assets that we own that we hope to develop in the future, where the tribe will have a much larger role and will assert jurisdiction at that point. But this was a legal position that they advised us that they were taking. And so their election to not intervene was not viewed as a negative. It was just they not want to involve themselves in the process and confuse the matter of jurisdiction.
Thanks for the additional discussion, Mr. Byrd. I appreciate that. Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Anything further from commissioners? All right, seeing nothing further, we will move into the deliberation stage of the consideration of this OGDP. Does anybody want to advance deliberations and or a motion? Commissioner Messner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do want to thank the applicant for their presentation today and the application that was provided. I think this is a really interesting and unique application, and appreciate the thought and the communication that has gone on between a number of different entities. It's clear to me that there was significant communication between the applicant and CPW, CDPHE, the EPA, the local government, our staff, the tribes, as far as trying to develop an application that both meets the goals of the applicant as well as is protective and meets the goals of the different entities that are involved with this process. There are a lot of things to like about this. I do think that the electrification of the production equipment is important. I think the utilization of the drilling mud in the San Juan Basin that is being proposed is good. I appreciate that there's no well site compression, and that there is a significant utilization of current resources that are within the application, including access roads. And I'll finish with saying that I'm, really excited to see the application of utilizing coal bed methane produced water in this application, because it does two things. One is I think it highlights the challenges around reuse and recycling of produced water in different applications, because there is, significant volumes associated with storing that produced water and utilization. In new drilling activities, there's increased footprints associated with the temporary pads that are associated. There's additional stormwater management and secondary containment that's required as far as reuse and recycling of produced water. But this scenario, I think, is good because it's utilizing produced water from another operator. There's water share agreements that are in place. There's pipelines that are moving the produced water from one operator's location to the new drilling site without the need for additional truck traffic. That both has emissions impacts as well as potential impacts to wildlife. And so I think this is an example of what it's currently going to take in order to develop significant amounts of reuse and recycling of produced water and new oil and gas activities, and the trade-offs that inevitably have to be contemplated in that effort to reuse and recycle produced water. And so I want to thank the applicant for kind of leading the way in how reuse and recycling, utilizing coal bed methane, which has lower emissions factors associated with it than other types of produced water, and trying to overcome the challenges of that water storage that's going to be necessary in order to be able to reuse and recycle water. And so Mr. Chair, with that, I would move approval of the application. I thank the applicant, but I'm certainly interested in hearing other commissioners' deliberative thoughts.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Messner, for leading off. I appreciate all the points you made. I'm also in favor of this application. Do others have deliberative thoughts, or is there a second to Commissioner Messner's motion? Commissioner McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I support what Commissioner Messner said, and there's a lot in here that this operator is offering up that we've been trying to get some of our front range operators to do. And so I think this is a a good example of some of the best management practices that we've been looking for and asking for. And some of them aren't even required in this area because of issues not related to air emissions issues or non-attainment, et cetera. So this very much appreciated. For me, looking forward, the only piece here that I'm hoping, if this is successful and horizontal drilling is going to become the thing, I would be appreciative of a bigger view, a bigger picture, a cap, and a situation where we're not having to have multiple occupations with such a large number of temporary tanks. But otherwise, I think this is an approval application, and I appreciate the extra things that the operators put on the table and best management practices.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ackerman?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'll just be very brief, as I agree with what Commissioner Messner and Commissioner McGowan have said, and just wanted to, state that multiple occupations is something that we've had issues with in the past and something that's not ideal. Understanding the significant efforts to use produced water to also avoid timing disturbance time periods. I agree with what Commissioner Messner said about trade-offs. It's important to talk about the trade-offs. And if we were to require that all the wells were drilled on a second occupation, that would require bringing in fresh water or significant other modifications to the operation that I think in the end would not be favorable. And so I too think this one is interesting. I appreciate the utilization of existing infrastructure. I appreciate keeping the pad closer to disturbed areas, particularly close to the road, and the significant work with CPW on a mitigation plan and a wildlife plan for this. And I am also supportive, and I'm not sure we've had a second yet. If we haven't, then I will absolutely second the motion.
Great. That is a confirmed second. We have not had a second yet. So we now have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion on the motion or on the application? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The OGDP is approved. Thank you, Mr. Zemsky, and thank you to your witnesses for the fine presentation to us this morning.
Thank you.
Chair Robbins. Appreciate it.
All right. With that, we have another OGDP on our calendar, but we also have a regularly scheduled break. It is 10:10. Let's return at 10:25. And in the interim, if we could get the panel for the next presentation set up, that would be helpful. It is 10:25. We are back on the record. The recording has started again. Ms. Larson, you normally don't visualize yourself. Did you have something that you wanted to bring to our attention?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chair. After your question regarding the recommended orders on enforcement and specifically the discrepancy in the dates in those orders, we went back and confirmed in the recommended order and in the file itself that the reference that is in the recommended order to the date of January of 2022 was a typo. That should have been January of 2023. So apologies for that typo. We're correcting it. And if there are any other questions with respect to this matter, please don't hesitate to ask.
No, that's great. Thanks for digging into that. And thanks to enforcement staff for figuring that out. That makes a lot more sense as opposed to noticing it for hearing 1 year and then not actually scheduling hearing for another year. So okay, with that, and I assume that those recommended orders will be amended to include the correct dates.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, we will now take up docket 221200352, an oil and gas development plan involving Laramie Energy. I see we have a robust panel with us, led by Attorney Kelsey Wazelinski. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Did you want to swear the witnesses in before we start?
Yeah, and let's have AG Mercer do the swearing in this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for the panel, I'll go one by one through folks as they appear on my screen, and I'll just be asking you to raise your right hand, state your name, and state that you swear to tell the truth. Mr. Edge.
My name is Austin Edge, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton?
My name is Katie Middleton, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Ms. Hinman?
My name is Barbara A. Hinman, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Cooley?
My name is Duke Cooley. I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Peters?
My name is Tyler Peters. I swear to tell the truth.
Mr. Clark?
My name is Chris Clark, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Bankert?
My name is Wayne Baker, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Brodsky? Oh, you're muted, sir.
Sorry, the click didn't work. My name is Edward Brodsky, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Mr. Knudsen?
Yeah, my name is Dwayne Knudsen, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
It's fine.
Ms. Wilsey?
My name is Amy Wilsey, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. Is there anyone who I might have missed?
I think Mr. Duncan.
Right,
Yep.
Mr. Duncan?
Aaron Duncan, I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you.
Does that cover all your witnesses, Ms. Weslinky?
It does. Thank you very much.
All right, we are ready to receive the presentation.
Wonderful. Let me have the presentation pulled up and then I will begin. Give us just a moment. There we go. Well, good morning, commissioners. Again, my name is Kelsey Wazelinki with Jost Energy Law. And with Jamie Jost, we represent Laramie Energy LLC in the 2022 BCU 14L OGDP before you today in docket 2212-00352. We'd like to thank Mesa County for submitting written comments in support of the BCU 14L OGDP, and also COGCC staff and the director for their efforts. Next slide, please. I'll take just a few minutes to summarize the OGDP and requested relief before I turn it over to Laramie. This OGDP requests that the commission establish an approximate 520-acre OGDP for the development of 10 new directional wells in the Williams Fork and Isles formations in the Buzzard Creek field in Mesa County. The OGDP also requests that the commission approve one Form 2A for the BCU 14L pad for the development of 10 new directional wells. This pad was previously permitted but never built. Both the proposed surface location and mineral development area are located within the 4,800-acre Buzzard Creek Federal Exploratory Unit. Laramie has an approved federal permit for the one federal well in this development plan. Laramie will develop the 10 proposed directional wells pursuant to Piance Basin-Wide Order 1-229, which established well density and 100-foot setbacks along the northern and southern unit boundaries and 600-foot setbacks along the eastern and western unit boundaries. The BCU 14L pad is located within Mesa County. Laramie has an approved Mesa County oil and gas site location, approving the siting and related surface disturbance for this location. And the pad is located within 2,000 feet of two residential building units, both of which are over 1,000 feet from the working pad surface. Both RBU owners executed informed consents for the BCU 14L location. And due to the topography surrounding the proposed pad and the RBU locations, in addition to the best management practices incorporated into the Form 2A, Laramie's operations will protect public health, safety, welfare, the environment for these two RBU owners. Both RBUs are located within a disproportionately impacted community. Laramie has conducted extensive outreach to both RBU owners, which is described in the community outreach plan submitted with the Form 2A. And again, both RBU owners executed informed consent. As part of the OGDP, Laramie has committed to several BMPs to avoid, minimize, and mitigate potential adverse impacts, which Laramie will describe today. And finally, Laramie has complied with all notice requirements for the OGDP. No formal petitions were filed and no public comments were received on the Form 2A. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Katie Middleton, the regulatory specialist for Laramie, to continue the presentation.
Thank you. Next slide. Thank you, Ms. Wazelinki. Good morning, Chair Robbins and commissioners. My name is Katie Middleton, regulatory specialist with Laramie Energy. I'd like to thank the commission for the opportunity to present Laramie's 2022 BCU 14L OGDP today. Laramie would also like to thank COGCC staff, CPW, BLM, and Mesa County for their guidance and time with this project. Laramie is an exploration and development company that solely operates in western Colorado. Our core operating areas are in Cascade Creek and Plateau Valley, both located within the Piceance Basin. Next slide. Located in Plateau Valley of Mesa County, the BCU 14L is a previously permitted oil and gas location which was never built. Laramie is proposing to drill 10 directional natural gas wells composed of 9 fee wells and 1 federal well. The site will be located on surface lands owned by Laramie. Next slide. Before you is an overview of the BCU 14L permitting timeline. The original Form 2A was approved in 2010 and expired in 2013. During the preparation of this OGDP application, Laramie conducted 3 pre-application meetings with regulatory agencies, consisting of 1 virtual meeting with COGCC and 2 on-site meetings. Next slide. The BCU 14L is located in a remote mountainous area of Mesa County. The site is located approximately 11 miles from the town of Colburn. The site will be accessed from an existing private access road located on Laramie's surface. There are no high occupancy buildings, school property or facilities, childcare centers, or designated outdoor activity areas located within 1 mile. Next slide. The site is located near existing infrastructure owned and operated by Laramie. The existing adjacent access road and pipeline corridor will minimize surface disturbance associated with this project. Nearby facilities include a water treatment facility, saltwater disposal wells, and a gas compression facility. By tying into existing gas pipelines and water gathering lines, these nearby facilities will support proposed operations and reduce truck traffic associated with the development of the BCU 14L. Approximately 95% of the water that will be utilized during pre-production activities will be recycled water. Next slide. The well pad was designed to minimize surface disturbance. The proposed BCU 14L will result in a total of 6.02 acres of short-term disturbance. During interim reclamation, 4.1 acres will be reclaimed, resulting in 1.75 acres of long-term disturbance. We received a question from a commissioner regarding the stormwater management plan. The BCU 14L stormwater management plan was prepared in accordance with current CDPHE and COGCC stormwater rules and regulations. Proposed stormwater BMPs were designed and reviewed by a certified stormwater contractor with extensive stormwater experience on the western slope. Proposed BMPs were also reviewed by the land surveying and engineering firm who designed the well pad. The BCU 14L will be gravelled, compacted, and maintained for pad stabilization. Laramie will construct and maintain stormwater and erosion control features to minimize erosion, minimize the transport of sediment off-site, and mitigate site degradation. After construction and throughout the life of the pad, Laramie will assess all stormwater BMPs and erosion control features to determine if installed control measures are adequate. The BCU 14L is situated in a location not anticipated to be impacted by a flood event or significant runoff due to the surrounding topography. The site is not located in a valley or floodplain, nor is the site adjacent to a drainage. During location visits, no evidence of historical flooding, including sediment movement or water cuts, were observed. The ridge to the west is narrow, reducing the amount of area for potential surface water to collect and flow towards the site. During the federal APD application process, BLM reviewed the proposed stormwater BMPs. During the OGDP process, COGC staff reviewed and provided technical comments regarding the BCU 14L stormwater management plan. The rigorous review process, in addition to continued communication and coordination with regulatory agencies, will ensure a successful stormwater program for the BCU. Next slide. Mesa County is the relevant local government. Pursuant to COGCC Rule 302E, advance notice was sent to Mesa County, notifying of Laramie's intention to submit an OGDP. Mesa County requires an oil and gas application for well pads within the Agriculture Forestry Transitional Zone District. On August 22nd, 2022, Laramie submitted an oil and gas location application to Mesa County. As part of Mesa County's application, a public notice sign was posted for 15 days. Mesa County did not receive any comments during this period, and on September 14th, 2022, Mesa County issued the oil and gas location permit. In addition, on April 26, 2023, Mesa County provided a letter of support for the BCU 14 L project. Next slide. A federal APD is required for the proposed federal well. BLM attended 2 pre-application on-site meetings in 2002. During the on-sites, Laramie consulted with BLM regarding the proposed operations. Laramie submitted the federal APD application in November of 2022. The environmental assessment prepared by the BLM concluded a finding of no significant impact. The federal APD was approved on April 5th, 2023. Next slide. There are 2 mapped aquatic habitats located within 1 mile of the location. One aquatic habitat, the cutthroat trout designated crucial habitat, is located up gradient of the BCU 14L. The aquatic sports fish management waters do exist down gradient approximately 51 feet. Physical barriers such as dense vegetation, varying topography, and a well pad and access road exist between the BCU 14L and the high priority habitat. As standard practice, Laramie always engages and consults with CPW early in the permitting process. CPW attended a pre-application on-site in July of 2022. During the meeting, Laramie and CPW discussed the downgradient aquatic habitat and BMPs to mitigate and minimize potential impacts. CPW was unable to attend the second on-site, but expressed no concerns with the proposed OGDP. Next slide. There are 2 RBUs located within 2,000 feet of the proposed working pad surface. Laramie has received informed consent from both RBUs. I will discuss the proximity engagement details over the next few slides. Next slide. The BCU 14L is located within a disproportionately impacted community. As shown on the map before you, all of Eastern Mesa County is located within this DIC. Most RBUs in this remote rural area are seasonal part-time residencies. Eastern Mesa County consists of large agriculture parcels and federal public lands. The BCU is located approximately 11 miles away from the town of Colburn, the nearest populated area. Next slide. Due to the remote location of the BCU 14L pad, Laramie conducted direct outreach to the owners of the 2 RBUs within 2,000 feet. During planning and permitting preparation, Laramie communicated several times with these RBU owners. Laramie invited the owners of 2 RBUs to the pre-application meeting held on September 12, 2022. The nearest RBU owner attended, but the second RBU owner was not available. Laramie arranged an on-site meeting with the second RBU owner to accommodate the owner's availability. Laramie has and will maintain open communication with the RBU owners throughout all phases of operation. Next slide. The nearest RBU is located 1,192 feet southeast of the working pad surface. As previously mentioned, the nearest RBU owner attended the pre-application on-site on September 12, 2022. During the on-site, the RBU owner expressed concern about potential impacts to his water well. Laramie explained that COGCC had rules pertaining to water well sampling. Laramie stated prior to construction, baseline samples would be collected and the analytical results would be provided to the RBU owner. After the on-site, Laramie emailed the RBU owner COGCC Rule 615, which details the water well sampling rules. Laramie worked with the RBU owner to develop a sampling plan, which included additional sampling events. The modified sampling schedule satisfied the RBU owner. The RBU owner has signed informed consent for the BCU 14L. The subject RBU is not yet fully constructed, and as of the first week of May, the residential building only has a foundation board. Once constructed, the RBU will serve as a part-time residency for the owner. Next slide. This elevation profile exhibits the varying topography between the RBU and the BCU 14L. The RBU is located in a valley below the pad with a ridge between the pad and the RBU. In addition to the varying topography, thick vegetation exists between the pad location and the RBU, providing natural buffers and minimizing potential impacts from the RBU. Next slide. RBU2 is located 1,812 feet to the southwest of the working pad surface. Laramie met with the RBU owner, of the second RBU on September 26, 2022 at the site location. Laramie provided information regarding the proposed operations. The RBU owner did not express any concerns during this on-site. The RBU owner has signed informed consent. Next slide. This elevation profile exhibits the varying topography between the second RBU and the BCU 14L. The RBU is located in a valley below the pad. A tall ridge exists between the pad location and the RBU, providing a natural barrier which will minimize potential impacts from to the RBU. Next slide. This slide highlights some of the technology and practices Laramie will implement. During drilling, Laramie will utilize a closed-loop drilling system and fresh water-based drilling mud. During completions and flowback, the BCU 14L will tie into existing water gathering lines for the transport of recycled produced water and flowback water. This will remove approximately 500 truck trips per well during completions and 200 truck trips per well during flowback. Utilizing existing water gathering lines will remove an estimated 7,000 truck trips during completions and flowback. Existing water gathering lines will also reduce truck trips during production. At a minimum, during the first year of production of operations, existing water lines will remove approximately 3,285 trucks from the road. Next slide. Laramie will implement numerous best managed practices to minimize and mitigate potential impacts, which best protect public health, the environment, safety, and wildlife resources. BMPs include exhaust mufflers will be installed on engines to reduce noise impacts. All lighting will be shielded and directed downwards towards the working pad surface, and gas will be routed to a sales line at the first appearance of saleable gas. Next slide. Listed before you is a summary of the proposed air monitoring program. Laramie is currently preparing an air monitoring plan to submit to CDPHE. Next slide. This slide summarizes the anticipated timeframes for the proposed operations. Laramie is planning one occupation for drilling activities. In this area, the average length of time to drill was approximately 4.5 days and 2 days to complete a well. Next slide. The next few slides will cover the alternative location analysis. Laramie's standard practice is to plan wells with a maximum inclination of 40 degrees or less, utilizing an S-curve directional design as shown on the figure to the right. The top of the producing formation is around 6,000 feet true vertical depth. Based on Laramie's restrictions on hole angle, wells cannot exceed a horizontal distance of 3,500 feet from surface hole location to bottom hole location. Next slide. The BCU 14L triggers the following ALA criteria. The proposed working pad surface is within 2,000 feet of 2 residential buildings, and the proposed working pad surface is within 2,000 feet of 2 residential building units within a disproportionately impacted community. Laramie assessed 4 alternative locations in addition to the BCU 14L in accordance with COGCC Rule 304B2. Next slide. This table shows an overview of the preferred and alternative locations. Alternative locations range from Tier 2B to Tier 4A and B. I will address each alternative location over the next few slides. Next slide. The first location Laramie considered was the existing Warney pad. However, this pad is currently too small to accommodate the proposed operations. The ability to expand the existing well pad to accommodate the additional 10 wells is not feasible due to the restrictions on topography, which would increase surface disturbance for cut and fill slopes. Alternative location 1 was eliminated since it would result in increased disturbance within high priority habitat. The location is upgrading at 500 feet of field verified wetlands, and 1 RBU within a DIC was still within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. Next slide. Laramie considered alternative location number 2 due to greater distances to RBUs in the area. This alternative location is greater than 2,000 feet from an RBU. However, Laramie eliminated this location due to the following factors. All the targeted minerals could not be reached from this location. The location is partially located within high priority habitat, and safety concerns regarding above ground utilities. COGCC Rule 604A1 states at the time a well is drilled, a well will not be located less than 200 feet from an above ground utility line. Alternative location 2 would be located approximately 91 feet from an electrical power line. Safety was a major concern when looking at the distance of the electrical power lines from the proposed rig placement. Due to the natural drainage to the west, the pad could not be moved west to increase distance from the existing power lines. Thus, alternative location 2 was eliminated. Next slide. Being situated at the base of a ridge, alternative location 3 would require large cut and fill slopes due to construction on side hills. Additionally, this location is not immediately adjacent to existing access roads or pipeline corridors, resulting in significantly increased disturbance when compared to the preferred location. The alternative location would be located on private property, and Laramie does not have an established SUA for this location. One RBU within a DIC still exists within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface, and this location was within mapped wetlands. With these considerations in mind, this alternative location was eliminated. Next slide. Alternative location 4 was originally considered because no RBUs exist within 2,000 feet of the working pad surface. This location would be located on private property, and Laramie does not have an established SUA. Laramie eliminated this location since it could not reach all the targeted minerals, and the site would be located within a mapped landslide geologic hazard area. Next slide. In order to develop targeted minerals and be greater than 2,000 feet from an RBU, 2 locations, alternative location 2 and 4, would both have to be constructed. Based on the distances to wetlands, surface water, surface ownership, and proximity to adjacent infrastructure, Laramie concluded developing the BCU 14L with proper best management practices protects public health, the environment, safety, and wildlife resources. The preferred location results in overall less impacts when compared to the alternative locations, while being able to reach all the targeted minerals. And now I will turn it back to Ms. Wazelinki to conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Middleton. Next slide. To quickly summarize this BCU 14L OGDP and request for approval, we note the following OGDP highlights. Mesa County supports the development and has approved a siting permit for this location. The 2 RBU owners located within 2,000 feet executed informed consent after extensive engagement, which Laramie will continue throughout the life of the development. The director recommends approval of the OGDP. And finally, the siting and BMPs provide protection of public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources by avoiding, minimizing, and mitigating adverse impacts. Next slide. This slide again just shows the relief requested for the BCU 14L OGDP. We respectfully request approval of the OGDP and associated Form 2A, and this does conclude our presentation, and we've got a team of subject matter experts who are available for your questions.
Okay, great. Thank you for the presentation. If we want to stop the screen share, there we go. Now we can see everybody a little bit better. Fellow commissioners, who would like to have some questions? Do we have a motion? Commissioner Cross.
Actually, I just want to ask one quick question about the existing unit. Is there already a paying determination on this unit?
Ms. Hinman, did you want to answer that question?
I was still on mute. Thank you for your question. Yes, this federal unit, the Buzzard Creek unit, contracted in November 1964 to the Mesa Verde Formation that we're drilling in.
Perfect. That was the only question I had. I'd move for approval of the OGDP.
Second, but I do need to ask a question. Do we need to call out the COAs that were incorporated in the director's recommendation as part of the motion?
And AG Mercer.
Thank you. Based on my read of the director's recommendation, all of those COAs are already included on the Form 2A. So we would not need to also add them here.
Okay, thank you. Second.
Great. Motion and a second. Now is the time for discussion on said motion. Commissioner McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation today, and thank you for fleshing out some of your thoughts about the stormwater management plan and best practices. And I think I'm also appreciative of that perspective as part of your ALA process. As you all know, I see some familiar faces here. We've been working together on the Western Slope to try to figure out how to release some tension around best practices around stormwater management. And so I appreciate that this site appears to have from a topographical and weather related location, hopefully what will minimize runoff and with a rightly sized and engineered best management plan. So I appreciate you fleshing that out. And I'm supportive of this application.
Further discussion on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Wazelinski, as well as to all the members of the panel.
Thank you.
Commissioners, with that, I believe we have exhausted the agenda items for today's meeting. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.